Do you ever wake up and immediately feel overwhelmed, stressed, distracted, or even a little lost? What if I told you that the words you say to yourself in the first 5 minutes of your morning could completely transform the way you experience your entire day? Today, I'm going to give you 9 powerful things to tell yourself every single morning, straight from the mindset strategies of Tony Robbins, so you can stop reacting to life and start creating it. Imagine this for a moment. You wake up in the morning. The alarm goes off, and before your feet even hit the floor, your mind is already racing. You're thinking about your emails, your to-do list, that conversation you're dreading, or maybe the problems from yesterday that still haven't been solved. Most people start their mornings like this. They roll over, grab their phone, start scrolling, and within 5 minutes, they've already lost control of their focus, their energy, and their emotions. But here's the truth, and I want you to feel this deep in your bones. The way you start your morning sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up reactive, if you start by letting the outside world control your state, you're giving away your power before the day even begins. That's why I call this the morning mindset shift. It's not just about what you do in the morning, it's about who you decide to be the moment you wake up. Now think about this, your mind is like a garden. The thoughts you plant first thing in the morning are the seeds that will grow all day long. If you plant weeds, doubt, fear, worry, stress, you'll spend your day fighting against your own mind. But if you plant powerful seeds, gratitude, confidence, clarity, energy, you'll create momentum that carries you through every challenge. This is why so many of the most successful people in the world protect their mornings like sacred territory. Because they know if you win the morning, you win the day. When I work with people at my events, I tell them this: if you want to change your life, don't wait for the big breakthroughs. Don't wait for some massive event. Start by mastering the little things you do every single day, because those little things shape your identity. And there's no habit more powerful than how you condition your mind the first hour after waking up. That's the hour where you set your state, you create your focus, and you decide how you're going to show up. Think about athletes for a moment. The greatest athletes in the world don't just roll out of bed and hope they're ready. They prime their bodies, they warm up, they prepare themselves mentally and physically to perform at their highest level. Why should your life be any different? Every day you step into is a performance. You're performing in your career, in your relationships, in your goals, in your dreams. So if you're not priming your mind each morning, you're stepping onto the field unprepared. And when you're unprepared, the world will knock you around. The morning mindset shift is about taking back control. It's about choosing your state instead of falling into it by accident. Here's something I want you to remember. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. And if you're the thinker, that means you can direct them. You can shape them. You can decide every morning what kind of energy and focus you're going to bring into the day. Let me give you an example. Most people wake up and they say things like, "I'm so tired, I don't want to go to work," or "I don't know how I'm going to get through today." And guess what? If those are the first commands you give your brain obeys. Your physiology follows your psychology. You slump, your energy drops, and suddenly everything feels harder. But if instead you wake up and declare with certainty, "This is my day, I am in control, I have the energy, the focus, and the drive to make this day count," your brain follows that command too. You stand taller, you breathe deeper, and you move with purpose. And I know what some of you are thinking. "Tony, that sounds great, but it's not that easy. My problems don't just disappear because I say some words." And you're right. Problems don't disappear. Life doesn't stop throwing challenges your way. But what changes is you. The morning mindset shift doesn't erase obstacles. It makes you stronger than them. It gives you the mental and emotional leverage to face them head on instead of shrinking back. You see, most people underestimate the power of their own state. They think their success depends on their environment, their job, their circumstances, and their past. But the truth is, success is 80% psychology and only 20% strategy. You can have the best plan in the world, but if your mindset is weak, you won't execute it. On the flip side, if your mindset is powerful, you can take even an average plan and turn it into extraordinary results. And that begins the moment you wake up. The morning mindset shift is also about gratitude, because gratitude is the antidote to fear and anger. You can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. You can't be grateful and angry at the same time. When you wake up, and the first thing you focus on is what you're thankful for, your health, your family, your opportunities, even the simple fact that you're alive today, you put yourself in a state of abundance. And from that state, your creativity expands, your stress lowers, and you start the day with power instead of pressure. But here's where it gets really interesting. Neuroscience has shown us that your brain literally rewires itself based on repetition. The thoughts you think repeatedly become the default patterns your brain runs. So if every morning you train yourself to think powerful, empowering thoughts, you're not just motivating yourself for the day, you're reprogramming your subconscious mind for the future. Over time, it stops being something you try to do, and it becomes who you are. That's the morning mindset shift. At its core, not a temporary trick, but a transformation of your identity. And don't forget, your physiology is tied to your psychology. That's why when I get up in the morning, I don't just think empowering thoughts. I move my body, I use my voice, I breathe deeply. Because motion creates emotion. If you sit slouched over scrolling your phone, shallow breathing, low energy, what kind of mindset are you priming? But if you stand tall, breathe with power, use strong language, your body tells your brain, we're alive, we're strong, we're ready. That's the signal you want to send. Now imagine living every day like this. Imagine waking up and instead of dragging yourself into your day, you launch into it with energy, with clarity, with a sense of certainty. Imagine how different your decisions would be, how much more effective you'd be at work, how much more present you'd be with your family, how much more unstoppable you'd feel when chasing your goals. That's not just motivation, that's conditioning. That's what happens when you commit to the morning mindset shift. Because let's be honest, life will always test you. You're gonna face stress, setbacks, disappointments, and things you can't control. But here's the thing, you don't need life to get easier. You need to get stronger. You don't need fewer problems. You need a more powerful mindset, and the fastest, most effective way to build that mindset is to start each morning by deciding who you are, what you stand for, and how you're gonna show up. Let me ask you a question. What's the most important conversation you'll have today? Is it with your boss, your partner, your kids, maybe a client or a friend? No, the most important conversation you will have is the one you have with yourself. Because that conversation is happening every single second, whether you realize it or not, and the quality of that conversation determines the quality of your life. Think about it. Your self-talk is the voice that's always with you. It's there when you wake up. It's there when you're facing challenges. It's there when nobody else is around. And here's the thing most people don't realize. Your brain is always listening. Every word you say to yourself is programming your subconscious. Every thought is planting a seed. And over time, those seeds grow into beliefs. And those beliefs shape your entire destiny. Now let's get real for a second. How often do you catch yourself saying things like, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or I'll never figure this out? We all do it. We all have that voice of doubt that shows up in our minds. But the difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck is this: successful people take control of that voice. They don't let it run on autopilot. They train it. They condition it. They use it as a weapon to create power instead of pain. I want you to imagine yourself talk like a coach. Now, if you had a coach who followed you around all day saying, you're weak, you're lazy, you're never going to make it, you're a failure, you should give up, how long would you keep that coach in your life? Probably not very long, and yet that's the way most people speak to themselves every single day. They beat themselves down with words they would never say to someone they love, and then they wonder why they feel stuck, why they have no confidence, why they can't find the energy to take action. But here's the breakthrough: you are the coach, you are the voice, and you get to decide whether that voice becomes your greatest ally or your greatest enemy. Because words don't just describe your reality, they create it. When you say, I can't, your brain shuts down and looks for reasons to prove you right. But when you say, I can figure this out, your brain opens up and starts searching for solutions. That tiny shift in language creates a massive shift in possibility. You see, your brain is like a computer, and your self-talk is the code you're running. If you keep writing negative code, you'll keep producing negative outcomes. But if you rewrite the code with empowering language, you change the program, you change the state, and you change the results. That's the power of self-talk. Here's something fascinating. Studies in neuroscience show that your brain doesn't know the difference between a statement you say with conviction and reality itself. If you tell yourself, I'm exhausted, I can't do this, your body reacts as if that's true, even if you had enough energy to keep going. But if you say, I am strong, I am focused, I've got this, your body releases energy, your posture shifts, your breathing deepens, and suddenly you feel a surge of strength. That's not magic, that's physiology responding to psychology. Let's break this down even deeper. Every emotion you experience, fear, anger, excitement, in joy. It all begins with language. The words you attach to your experience determine the meaning you give it. For example, if something doesn't go your way and you tell yourself, "This is a disaster," how do you feel? You feel defeated, overwhelmed, and powerless. But if you tell yourself, "This is a challenge, and challenges make me stronger," suddenly the same event feels empowering. Nothing changed in the situation. The only thing that changed was the words you used. That's why people who achieve at the highest levels guard their language fiercely. They don't let disempowering words live in their minds. They upgrade their vocabulary because they know words shape reality, and it starts with the way you talk to yourself. Now, here's the kicker. Your self-talk doesn't just affect your emotions, it affects your actions, because emotion drives behavior. If you talk to yourself in a way that creates fear, you'll hesitate, procrastinate, and miss opportunities. But if you talk to yourself in a way that creates certainty, confidence, and courage, you'll take bold action, and bold action creates extraordinary results. So ask yourself right now, what's the story you've been telling yourself? What's the conversation you've been replaying in your mind? Is it a story of weakness or a story of strength? Is it a conversation about why you can't or is it about how you will? Because whatever you tell yourself consistently, you will live. I remember working with people who had everything against them. No money, no support, no clear path forward, but they changed their story. They changed their self-talk. Instead of saying, "I can't afford this," they started saying, "How can I afford this?" Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," they started saying, "I am resourceful, I am relentless, I am capable of more than I know." And those shifts created actions, those actions created results, and those results created a completely different life. That's the power you hold in your words. And don't think for a second this is about lying to yourself or pretending everything's perfect. This isn't about blind positivity. It's about choosing words that empower you to act instead of words that paralyze you. It's about giving your brain commands that lead you towards solutions instead of excuses. It's about training your inner voice to push you forward instead of pulling you down. Because here's the deal, if you don't consciously direct your self-talk, it will default to old patterns, often patterns that come from fear, doubt, or past conditioning. Maybe you grew up hearing negative language. Maybe you've repeated limiting beliefs for years, but the moment you take control of that voice, you take control of your destiny. I want you to imagine what would happen if every time you faced a challenge, your inner voice said, "I am stronger than this. I've faced tougher before and I came through. I will figure this out." Imagine if, instead of beating yourself up for mistakes, your inner voice said, "I learned something valuable here. This setback is setting me up for a bigger comeback." Imagine if, instead of telling yourself you're not enough, you said, "I am worthy, I am capable, I am destined for more." How differently would you feel? How differently would you act? How differently would your life look? That's the transformation I'm talking about. That's the shift that happens when you take control of your self-talk. It's not just about feeling good, it's about creating the mindset that drives action, resilience, and results. And the best part is you don't have to wait. You don't need permission. You don't need a perfect moment. You can start right now. You can catch yourself the next time that negative voice shows up and instead of accepting it, you challenge it, you flip it, you replace it with a voice that serves you. And if you do this consistently day after day, you'll rewire your brain to speak power into your life automatically. Every single one of us has rituals. Some we're aware of, some we're not. But here's the truth. Your rituals are shaping your life, whether you realize it or not. The question is, are they rituals of power or rituals of limitation? Because the results you're experiencing right now, your health, your finances, your relationships, your confidence, they're all a reflection of the rituals you've been living by consistently. Think about it. Do you brush your teeth every morning? Do you drink coffee at the same time? Do you check your phone before you even get out of bed? Those are rituals. They're actions you've conditioned into habits. And the secret of the most successful people on the planet is that they consciously design rituals that empower them instead of letting unconscious rituals drain their energy. That's what I call a daily empowerment ritual. A set of actions, no matter how small, that condition your mind, your body, and your emotions to operate at their peak every single day. Now, let me ask you a tough question. What's the first thing you usually do in the morning? For most people, it's checking emails, scrolling through social media, or replaying yesterday's problems in their head. And when you do that, you're already behind. You've handed over control of your mind to the outside world before you've even taken your first step. But imagine if you had a ritual that put you in charge. Imagine if, Before the world threw its demands at you, you primed your mind and body to be strong, focused, and unstoppable. How different would your day feel? This is what the daily empowerment ritual is all about. It's about conditioning yourself to start from a place of power instead of reaction. And it's about designing moments that set the tone for everything that follows. Because here's the thing, success isn't built on random bursts of inspiration. It's built on consistent habits that compound over time. And the fastest way to change your life is to change your rituals. When I work with world-class athletes, entrepreneurs, and leaders, the first thing I look at isn't just their goals, it's their routines. What do they do every single day without fail that puts them in peak state? Because discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And rituals are the building blocks of discipline. Without rituals, your willpower runs out, but with rituals, your actions become automatic, effortless, and unstoppable. Let me give you an example. Think of someone who is physically fit. It's not because they went to the gym once and had a great workout, it's because they made exercise a ritual. They conditioned themselves to move their body consistently, whether they felt like it or not. The same principle applies to your mind, your emotions, your business, your relationships. If you want consistent results, you need consistent rituals that empower you. Now, here's where most people get it wrong. They think rituals have to be complicated. They think they need hours of meditation, perfect morning routines, or some magic formula. But the truth is, a powerful ritual can take as little as 5 minutes. What matters is not the length, but the intensity and consistency. For example, every morning I do something I call priming. It's a simple practice that combines breath, movement, gratitude, and focus. It takes less than 15 minutes, but it shifts my state completely. By the time I'm done, I feel energized, centered, and unstoppable. That's the power of ritual. And here's the science behind it. Your brain loves patterns. When you repeat a behavior consistently, your brain wires it into your nervous system. Over time, it stops being something you have to think about and it becomes automatic. That's why you don't have to think about brushing your teeth. You just do it. Imagine if feeling confident, energized, and focused was just as automatic. That's what happens when you create a daily empowerment ritual. So what does this look like in practice? It could be starting your morning with gratitude, flooding your mind with thoughts of what's already amazing in your life. It could be moving your body, jumping, stretching, running to generate energy. It could be repeating affirmations with power and certainty until they sink deep into your subconscious. It could be visualizing your goals as if they've already happened, feeling the emotions of success before you've even taken the first step. These aren't random actions. They are rituals of empowerment that align your mind, your body, and your emotions with the life you want to create. And here's what's amazing. Rituals don't just shape your day, they shape your identity. Because what you do consistently is who you become. If you consistently tell yourself you're disciplined, and then you back it up with rituals of discipline, you start to see yourself as someone who follows through. If you consistently focus on gratitude, you become a person who lives in abundance. If you consistently take time to move, to breathe, to set your intentions, you become a person who lives with energy and clarity. Identity is built on ritual. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Tony, I don't have time for rituals. My mornings are already packed. But let me challenge you. Do you really not have time, or have you just not made it a priority? Because here's the reality. If you don't make time for empowerment, you're going to spend time dealing with disempowerment. If you don't make time to condition your mind, you're going to waste time battling doubt, stress, and distraction all day long. So it's not about time, it's about standards. It's about deciding that your state is non-negotiable, that your power is non-negotiable, that your rituals are non-negotiable. And let's be honest, your rituals don't just affect you, they affect everyone around you. If you show up to work drained, reactive, and stressed, how does that impact your team? If you come home distracted, tired, and unfocused, how does that affect your family? But if you walk in every environment with energy, clarity, and presence because you've already empowered yourself with your rituals, everyone around you feels it. You elevate not just your own life, but the lives of the people you touch. That's why I say the daily empowerment ritual is not optional if you want to live at your peak. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the foundation on which everything else is built. And once you make it a habit, once it becomes a part of your identity, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your rituals. You can dream as big as you want, you can set massive goals. But if your daily rituals don't align with those dreams, you'll never get there. On the other hand, if your rituals are empowering, consistent, and intentional, They will carry you to your goals almost automatically, because you won't just be chasing success. You'll be living it, breathing it, embodying it every single day. So ask yourself, what are the rituals you're living with right now? Are they empowering you or draining you? Are they pulling you closer to the life you want in, or are they keeping you stuck where you are? And more importantly, what new rituals could you create starting today that would transform your mornings, your mindset, and your momentum? Let me tell you something that most people don't realize. Energy is everything. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how talented you are, or how many opportunities you've been given. If you don't have energy, if you don't have the physical and emotional intensity to follow through, nothing else matters. Ideas are useless without energy. Strategies are meaningless without energy. Dreams collapse without energy. And that's why one of the most important things you can learn is how to generate energy on demand, how to step into a state of power, confidence, and momentum every single day. This is what Tony Robbins has built his life's work around. Not just ideas, not just strategies, but creating a state that makes those ideas and strategies come alive. Because let's be real, knowledge isn't power, knowledge is potential power, execution is power, and execution requires energy. Think about it. Have you ever had a day where you had the perfect plan? You knew exactly what needed to be done, but you just didn't have the drive to follow through? The plan didn't fail because you didn't know what to do. It failed because you didn't have the energy to do it. Now here's the key. Energy isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. Too many people wake up and hope they'll feel motivated. They wait for inspiration, they wait for the perfect mood, and when it doesn't come, they drag themselves through the day. But the most successful people don't wait for energy, they generate it. They use their physiology, their focus, and their language to step into a powerful state, no matter what's going on around them. That's why when you go to a Tony Robbins event, you see thousands of people jumping, screaming, dancing, and moving like their life depends on it, because it does. Motion creates emotion. The moment you change the way you move, you change the way you feel. And let's not forget, confidence is a form of energy. Think about a time in your life when you were absolutely confident, when you knew you couldn't fail. How did you stand? How did you breathe? How did you speak? Your entire physiology shifted. Your shoulders were back, your chest was open, and your voice had strength. That physical state created the emotional state of confidence, and the reverse is true too. When you're slouched, when your breathing is shallow, when your voice is weak, it's almost impossible to feel strong. That's why confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you step into. Momentum works the same way. When you're standing still, it feels almost impossible to get moving. But once you take that first step, once you get into motion, suddenly everything gets easier. Success is built on momentum, and momentum doesn't come from waiting, it comes from action. Small actions create movement, movement creates momentum, and momentum creates unstoppable force. That's why Tony is always telling people to change their state first. Because when you're in the right state, action becomes automatic, and action builds momentum. Now let's get real again. Energy is not just physical, it's mental, emotional, and spiritual. You could have slept 8 hours, eaten perfectly, exercised in the morning, and still feel drained if your mind is filled with doubt, fear, and negativity. Why? Because energy flows where focus goes. If your focus is on what's missing, what's wrong, or what might go wrong, you'll drain your energy faster than anything else. But if your focus is on what's possible, what's exciting, what you're grateful for, you'll feel a surge of energy even if your body is tired. That's the power of focus. Language is another key. The words you use either generate energy or drain it. If you keep telling yourself, I'm exhausted, I can't do this, this is too hard, your brain believes you, your body follows, and your energy collapses. But if you say, I am alive, I am powerful, I can handle this, I was made for this, suddenly you feel stronger. It's not that the challenge disappeared, it's that your language shifted your energy. And when your language shifts, your state shifts, and your results shift. This is why rituals matter so much. Energy and confidence don't come from what you do once in a while. They come from what you do consistently, from the habits and rituals you live by every single day. If your ritual is to wake up, check your phone, and focus on everyone else's problems before you've even taken a breath, you're draining your energy. But if your ritual is to wake up, move your body, breathe deeply, declare your intentions, and focus on gratitude, you're generating energy before the world has a chance to pull it away. And here's the thing about style. It's not about copying someone else. It's about finding your own rhythm, your own way of stepping into power. Tony Robbins' style is intensity, certainty, fire. He claps, he shouts, he gets people moving, because that's what creates a massive shift in state. In But you don't have to be Tony Robbins to use this. You don't have to sound like him. You don't have to move like him, but you do need to discover what triggers your energy. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's a movement. Maybe it's affirmations shouted at the top of your lungs. Maybe it's breathing practices or visualization. Whatever it is, the key is to make it a ritual, to make it a non-negotiable part of your day. Because let's be honest, the world is not slowing down. Stress, challenges, distractions, they're everywhere. You can't control all of that, but you can control your state, you can control your energy, you can control the way you show up, and the moment you take ownership of that, everything changes. Now imagine this. Imagine you start your day with energy so strong that nothing can shake you. Imagine walking into every room with confidence so certain that people feel it before you even speak. Imagine building so much momentum that obstacles don't slow you down, they fuel you. That's what's possible when you master your energy, when you train your confidence, when you create unstoppable momentum. And remember this, energy is contagious. When you show up with passion, with certainty, with fire, people around you feel it. They're lifted by it, they're inspired by it, they're drawn to it. That's why leaders focus so much on their own state, because your energy doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. Your family, your team, your clients, your friends, they're all impacted by the energy you bring. If you bring stress and doubt, you spread stress and doubt. If you bring passion and power, you spread passion and power. That's influence, that's leadership. And leadership starts with leading yourself. If you can't command your own energy you'll never inspire others. If you can't generate your own confidence, you'll never instill it in someone else. If you can't build your own momentum you'll never create momentum in your business, your team, or your relationships. But when you master your energy, your confidence, and your momentum, you become unstoppable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Now think about everything we've uncovered together. The morning mindset shift, the power of self-talk, and the rituals that shape your destiny, and the energy that fuels confidence and momentum. These aren't just ideas, these aren't just words, these are tools. Tools you can use every single day to take back control of your life, to stop living in reaction, and to start living with intention, with passion, with power. Because here's the truth, your life is not shaped by the big events, it's shaped by the little things you do consistently. It's shaped by the thoughts you allow, the words you speak to yourself, the rituals you repeat, and the energy you choose to bring into every situation. If you shift those things even slightly, your entire life can transform. But here's the catch, knowing it isn't enough. You can't just watch this, feel good for a few minutes, and then go back to the same old patterns. Change doesn't come from inspiration alone, it comes from action. It comes from deciding right here, right now, that you're no longer willing to settle for living below your potential. It comes from making a commitment to yourself that starting tomorrow morning, you're gonna wake up differently. You're gonna speak differently. You're gonna move differently. You're gonna live differently. And listen in, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. What you need is progress. What you need is momentum. What you need is the courage to take the first step, and then the next, and then the next, until these shifts stop being something you do and start becoming who you are. So the question is, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the person who wakes up every day and lets life happen to them? Or do you want to be the person who wakes up and creates life on their own terms? The choice is yours, and the choice starts now. Take these 9 powerful things, speak them, feel them, live them, condition them into your identity, and when you do, you'll discover what it feels like to live with unstoppable energy, unshakable confidence, and unbreakable momentum. You'll discover what it feels like to create a life of meaning, of passion, of fulfillment, and you'll know deep down that you didn't just dream it, you lived it.